Recently, I've been researching the economic calculation problem, as I've been told it's a popular argument among ANCAPs against socialists. And as I hadn't heard of it before, I figured I'd, learn about it and develop an argument against it. So I'm going to explain my position against it, and because I'm doing this to develop my own debating skills, I encourage you guys, whether you agree with me or not, to try and poke holes in my argument here. So anyway, let's get on with it. So first off, what's the economic calculation problem? Well, it's an attack against planned economies run by the state, or state capitalism as us leftists would put it. And this means that it's only really relevant to ideologies that advocate for centralized states to run the economy and oversee the transition between capitalism and socialism, i.e. Leninism. Luxemburgism and anarchism, for example, would not run into these problems at all because they don't have a centralized government instead of a decentralized one, and they don't have one group of people trying to run everything at once. The argument says that states planning economies would not be able to efficiently price manufactured goods due to the sheer amount of people and industries involved in making these goods. I'm sure we've all heard the analogy of the pencil where it talks about how the wood is cut down from one group of people, then it's shaved into a shape from another group of people, and then it's glued together, and the glue was made from another group of people, and so on and so forth. And you get all these different kind of factors coming in to make this one pencil. And it just shows how complicated it is and the amount of work that goes into it. And the thing is, every component that comes into it, they all have their own varying prices over time, and these prices can be affected from real life things such as natural disasters, making them really difficult to predict in the future. Capitalism or socialism, they're difficult to predict. Because of this, coming up with prices for pencils, such to minimize shortages and surpluses of them, becomes almost impossible for one centralized group of people, thus reducing efficiency of resource allocation. So that's the argument summed up. This was probably a legitimate problem when the argument was postulated, almost 100 years ago, but now we have computers which can easily use algorithms to take price variation into account and give the optimum price at any given time. Some people argue that technology can't be used to solve this economic calculation problem because of a project done called Project Cybersyn, and I think I'm pronouncing that right, which tried and failed to plan and calculate optimum prices using computers for an economy. However, this was done in the early 1970s, so I think it's safe to say our computers have come along since then. I've linked a PDF in the description as well, which tackles the economic calculation problem and implies that you can run an economy on an old Dell computer. So take a read of that as well. I also want to mention though, this doesn't mean socialism was pointless to attempt before we could make computers which could process enough. One solution is just don't have a centralized economy. Decentralization would remove the problem. However, this comes with its own problems. For example, one of the benefits of having a centralized vanguard party reduces the chance of counter-revolution and various other things. Lastly, I want to point out that the worst this problem could ever result in is temporary inefficiency, as the state won't be controlling the economy forever anyway, and if it is, inefficiency is the last of our worries. Capitalist economies are hardly the most efficient things to ever be conceived of either, and yet we're still living with those and have done for a while. My point here is that even if somehow computers couldn't calculate the optimum prices that an economy needs, temporary inefficiency would be a fair trade to end capitalism. The problem will sort itself out after the workers gain the means of production anyway. Thanks for watching.